So there.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
Why do you keep saying let us know your thoughts?
Let me know your thoughts to me is a nice lead-in for So there. So there. Welcome to episode 31 of So there.
I'm Gary Doyle.
You changed the format a little. And I'm Tom Karamitis.
No, wait, how did I change the format?
Well, usually the person who says the episode introduces themselves first.
Wow.
That's fine. It's COVID. I understand. The fever is...
That's a little glimpse into Tom Karamitis' raging anal compulsiveness.
Hey, do it once, you do it right. No mistakes, no apologies.
Whoa.
So how have you been doing sequestered?
Fine. Yeah. I gotten acclimated to working from home. I'm fine with it. Good with it. Wish we could do it full time, or at least part time. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay with it. Yeah, and I think certain things that were kind of really problematic for a while, I think have gotten a little bit better. The utter breakdown of boundaries, where you were kind of at the mercy of both people who were like to work in the morning and people who like to work in the evening, and you get stuck in the middle having to deal with everybody. I feel like some of those things have gotten a little better, trying to limit the amount of emailing that goes on at night, just to kind of finally have a definitive end to the workday. So yeah, I think in some ways it's gotten better. I still miss human contact and the things we talked about last time, which are like walking down the hall and having a quick conversation with a person and resolving something quickly that you don't do now,
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. I'll tell you the hardest thing working from home for me is I don't know if you have these in Lake Zurich, but the landscapers. Just nonstop. The landscapers in your neighbors' yards.
You mean like the lawn mowing services and things?
Oh yeah. It's like it's 8 a.m. starts off, and it's like a giant swarm of bees outside your house. These leaf blowers, like, it's like, oh my God. Yeah, that's a struggle.
Although I would take that over. I see the people who struggle with having toddlers jump up onto their lap during a conference call, and just imagine just having to deal with keeping kids entertained and occupied and educated and all of that at the same time. I'll take a lawnmower over that, I think.
It's a much different deal with kids, for sure.
Yeah.
I have my dog jumping into my lap.
Volton?
My pug. Volton. Yes. Volton, the unyielding, and he does not yield. I wanted to share a letter I got from you from the North Shore Water Reclamation District. And this is the people that treat our water in Lake Bluff. And I wish this was a video podcast so I could share the letter visually with you. But it says no fewer than 6 times, "We are all in this together." So that's the headline. We are all in this together. And then it says, the Board of Trustees of the North Shore Water Reclamation District extends its well wishes to you and your family. We are all in this together, and we want to reassure you that we are here to work with you and help you if we can. And it goes on to say, if you want to pay your bills, you can call this number or email this number, because we are all in this together. And then later on in the letter it says, these are challenging times, and we appreciate your concerns. We are confident we will serve your needs at this time because we are all in this together.
Somebody
times.
decided they needed to crank that letter out in the 5 minutes before they ended their workday.
I think we talked about this last time, but why do advertisers feel the need to assure us that we are in this together? There's a local community center here that people have taken to placing yard signs. For some reason, this community center made signs, and the signs say, "Even though we are apart, we are in this together." It's like, oh. Did I need to be reminded of that? Okay.
Yeah, to me that it also gets into a broader topic of connecting with brands and how much connecting do people really want to do. I remember right before COVID, I was walking home from the office to the train, and there was a little thing going on at the what do they call it, the Thompson Center. There had been some kind of event, and then there were banners, and they were breaking it down, they were putting stuff away, and there were banners, and one of the banners said, "Follow us on tridentgum.com." And I just kind of thought, no matter how much of a Trident gum enthusiast I might be, would I really go to the effort to kind of following them on tridentgum.com? What is this something are these discussions that happen in boardrooms, and is it wishful thinking? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have 50,000 followers on tridentgum.com.
I'll bet you they do.
Brand enthusiasts, extreme brand enthusiasts.
Trident gum was the gum that said 4 out of 5 dentists prefer Trident, wasn't it? For their patients,
yes, but I think they said
patients who chew gum.
4 out of 5 dentists surveyed.
That means they surveyed 5 dentists. Total.
Okay, guys, we have our 80%. We can stop.
Okay, so while I was talking to you, I just would like to say that I looked up Trident. Their Facebook page has 14 million followers.
Are you serious?
Yes.
All right.
14,131 followers on the Trident page.
I stand corrected.
Their tagline seems to be "Chew Through."
Because we're all in this together.
I was going to say, it's just another exhortatory message from an advertiser. Chew through this. We can all chew through this difficult time that we're in. There's rioting in the streets. There's a rampant pandemic. But you know what, America? Chew through.
And Gary, through all of this, everyone seems to have a logo right now.
It's funny you mention that because I was just looking at the North Shore Water Reclamation District. They have a logo. It's a little wave pattern in various shades of blue. And, I have a logo, Tom. In fact, I have my own Doyle family crest. I just had it created, but the problem is I don't know where to put it. I used to have it on a giant flagpole in my front yard, but the neighbors are starting to complain.
Well, can I offer a suggestion?
Oh,
perhaps
my
you
neighbors
should
would welcome that as well.
Yeah, perhaps you should look into the Midwest Promotional Group.
Midwest Promotional Group, Tom?
Yes, Gary. They're at the center of customization. You name it, they brand it. T-shirts, check. Coffee mugs, customized AirPods, check. Apparel, you'll find, is the perfect complement to your brand, and Midwest Promotional Group gives you access to most any type for a very affordable price.
They say, Tom, and I often wonder who these they people are, but they who are wise, when you talk about they tend to be wise. They say branded merchandise helps build business relationships for any size business, big or small, be it client gifts, employee events, or trade show giveaways.
Well, as we both know, they aren't always right, but in this case, they are right. Because with Midwest Promotional Group, you can access top retail brands such as Under Armour, North Face, Patagonia, Callaway, Yeti, Richardson, and more. So the next time you, Gary Doyle, need some branded merchandise work done, check out shop.midwestgrp.com/Tim. Tim Leahy is one of their experienced sales guys and a very good friend of the show, so check his site out.
I actually know Tim. He's a good man. I used to work with Tim at Leo Burnett. We did many famous campaigns together that I won't go into right now because there's too many. But he's a good man, and your business will enjoy doing business with him, or you will too. So check his site out. He responds very quickly and is ready to simplify your life by handling your next branded merchandise need.
I know Tim too, by the way, because I worked with him at Leo Burnett. So head
on
over.
You sound a little defensive.
Well, you always want to throw that in my face. I consider Tim a friend as well. So there. Head on over to shop.midwestgrp.com/Tim. Again, that's shop.midwestgrp.com/Tim.
Whoa.
Gary, I was going through my notes, and I take notes on little things that might be fun to talk about in the podcast, and most of them at this point feel oddly dated because of the stay-at-home life we're all leading. But one of them actually felt a little timeless to me, and I thought we could maybe talk about it today. And it is the feeling of dread and trepidation we have when we walk into a public restroom and we put our hand on the door to open up a stall, to go into a stall. It's that feeling of dread because you don't know what you're going to find in there. And the thing that occurred to me about that is I'm the kind of person that if the toilet did not flush properly or completely, I would stay in there as long as it took to make sure things are right. I would not, if I had to stay in that stall for 4 hours, maybe running a shuttle between the sink and the toilet, I would not leave the toilet. I would not leave a fecal disaster area for anyone to encounter. And I'm always amazed at the people who do.
You mean don't flush?
Who don't flush. And look, I think if you go to a sporting event...
fecal disaster area.
Yes.
Some have called our podcast that.
I think we came up with the title for this episode. But I understand it more at a public, at a sporting event or a concert or something like that. But at the office, I don't know if at your office, if you encounter this, I still encounter it at my office. That it's I almost I wonder if the people who do that just don't flush.
I don't know, Tom. We could spend an entire podcast on this topic and other bathroom tendencies, public bathroom tendencies. I've always been curious about public bathrooms at work, where let's say there's 4 different stalls, and you'll be in a stall that'll let's say be the 4th to the right, like in the end, and somebody will come in and use the stall, and instead of using a stall like 2 or 3 stalls down, which you would do if they're all empty, right? Except for one. Sometimes, many times, people will come and use the stall right next to you. Right? Even though there's two other empty ones that are further away, and I find that people that use the stall next to you is exceedingly odd and makes me uncomfortable. Like, why are you using that stall? It's
the same person who will sit right down next to you on the train if there are other open seats.
It's the same person who desperately wants to talk to you on the elevator. And there's 2 of you on the elevator, and it's and they just want to say something to you, and you can sense it.
You can sense it because you sense their eye contact. You sense they're looking at you, hoping for an opening.
Right, and you sense their need, and finally they'll say something like, "These elevators are slow today."
Eh?
Eh? They just they want that human contact. They want to do their fecal business next to you. They want to talk to you in the elevator. They want to sit next to you.
They want a human connection in any form they can. even if it means leaving their waste products behind as perhaps a kind of a totem, some kind of tribute to the next person who comes by. Almost like the way a cat might mark something, you know? They're leaving their mark for you. I'm giving them all the benefit of the doubt I can. Because I really, truly am befuddled when I walk into a stall that somebody left it that way.
Those people are probably really struggling right now in these trying times because they need that human connection, right? They're struggling. And by the way, do cats mark their territory or dogs? I think dogs do, not cats.
I think cats mark their owners. They'll rub the side, and wild cats too do as well. They rub the sides of their mouth against furniture or people to kind of mark them as their territory. And I think unspayed cats will pee on things to mark it as their territory. As you know, I'm more of a cat person. I know you're more of a dog person, although you have both. So you can speak authoritatively to both.
Yeah. I had this thought when we were walking Voltan the Unyielding the other day that I thought it'd be interesting if humans, when they were out walking, behaved like dogs did. So if humans, like, stopped and peed every 10 feet and just a little bit, like a drop or two came out, you know, and then they'd move on. And if humans, like, ran right up to people and got right in their face, you know, and were like, hi, 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 and then they got right up in their face, it'd be kind of an amusing, I think that'd be an amusing SNL skit if humans behaved like dogs.
I think they would, because I think if you put it in the context that the human is only going to experience about 15 minutes of outdoor freedom a day, I'd want that urination to last. If my time outside is defined by the length of time it takes me to urinate, I might space it out that way. I would probably enthusiastically greet everyone I ran into. It would be a moment of pure joy, I think.
You know, getting back to the bathroom stall thing, I just want to relay a story one time. I try to avoid using public bathrooms to do that kind of business, like at Wrigley Field, or that's just a really, like, last resort thing, right? To sit down in a public place. But one time I was at O'Hare, and I got off the plane, and I had to go, and there was only one stall open. And you know how at O'Hare and some other places they have those revolving toilet seat covers that automatically revolve and replace themselves?
Yeah.
You ever seen those?
Yeah. So
at O'Hare, the only one that was open, the cover on the toilet seat was revolving nonstop. So it was circling. It was constantly, like, it was a circling plastic cover that was sort of replacing itself nonstop. And the only way to stop it was to sit down on it to bring it to a stop. But then the other thing that was happening was that, but also it was like this toilet that was out of control and had a mind of its own, because also it was flushing nonstop. And so me sitting down on it stopped the plastic revolving thing from happening, but it didn't stop the flushing nonstop.
My guess is that
nonstop for the entirety of my visit.
Well, that probably provided kind of a bidet effect on you, did it not?
It
a little
did.
Splash action?
It did, which would be maybe pleasant in ordinary circumstances, but a public bidet that hundreds of people have used that same bidet that day was unpleasant.
Well, you know what, though? When circumstances are desperate enough, we have to make great personal sacrifices. You know, you had no choice. You were in an airport public bathroom. You weren't even at the Admirals Club bathroom. You weren't even. You were kind of at the. Were you past security? Because that's the layers of hell. You know, Dante's Inferno or whatever. It's, you know, the public restrooms at the airport that are outside of security. That's kind of the lowest of the low. You know, at least if you've gone through security, at least you're going to the bathroom alongside other travelers, right? There's just something a little more safe about that.
Yeah. You know, Tom, when faced with a situation like that, you just need to chew through.
Yes.
Trident, before I just want to say before I close the Trident Facebook page, it's interesting that Trident, neither in their logo nor in their advertising, has ever utilized a trident.
Really? They don't have the little three-pronged...
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? It seems like an obvious thing, like a three-pronged attack on bad breath with Trident.
I wonder if the name Trident is a shortened form of dent, as in dental, and then tri means, does it provide great taste, cleaning, some kind of three benefits for dental. I wouldn't...
Yeah, maybe. I'm just surprised they haven't used a Trident as a... Yeah. Or that they haven't changed their name to Fordent, because 4 out of 5
quad dent.
Trident. So there. Do you think we'll have any listeners left after this episode?
That's a really good question. I don't think we've gotten a single piece of viewer mail in probably a couple of months. So
I think it'll be interesting if we get some listeners based on this episode from places like, I don't know if our listeners are aware of this, but we have listeners in about 15 or 20 countries. We have been in the past, from Russia to Ukraine, China, France, on and on, Germany, on and on and on, right? And it'll be interesting if we get some listeners or some mail perhaps from places where the toilet facilities are not as advanced.
Well, yeah, public toilets in a lot of Asian countries, especially like Japan, are very advanced. I mean, automated cleaning between each use, but yes, we hopefully maybe we'll get some viewer mail giving us the local situation on public restrooms.
That address, by the way, is sothere@yahoo.com.
Yes.
That's right. Yahoo.com.
I was out walking this morning, and I was thinking about something from the 70s and or maybe even the early 80s. You might remember this, but movies in the 70s and 80s, the title music theme was referred to quite often as the love theme. There was a phrase they used to call the love theme. And I did some research. I really couldn't figure out what the derivation of that term was, but basically it was the main title track was called the love theme. So the love theme from, whatever movie, from Ben-Hur or whatever. But it seemed to be particularly done with movies that were created in the 70s. And what I wanted to propose was, I think we should, I'd like to resurrect this, and I'd like to establish the love theme from So There, which I would think should be the theme from Meat Boat. Do you remember love themes, Gary?
Yeah. We were just, I think this is what you're talking about. We were just watching, my son and Tucker and Lisa were watching a movie, and we were watching An Officer and a Gentleman, and they had a theme. If you remember the theme in that movie, the song in that movie, the key song was "Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong." Joe Cocker. Remember Joe Cocker sang that?
It's a duet, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And so what they would do is reprise that music throughout the movie. It wasn't sung by Joe Cocker. It was just the melody. It was like with strings or orchestrated, but they repeat it. And Tucker thought it was so corny, which it kind of was. But they used that one theme. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Was that a love theme?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kept using it as a constant theme throughout the movie.
Interesting. You're probably right. I wonder if that's what makes it a love theme, that it becomes a musical metaphor that kind of comes back over and over again during the movie in different arrangements and different moods. And
I thought our love theme would perhaps be played by Barry White and his Love Unlimited Orchestra. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're the first, you're the last, my everything.
Which you have tackled at a karaoke bar. In a strange Louis Armstrong kind of voice that nobody ever understood. Tom Karamitis would sing my first, my last, my everything, but do it not in Barry White's voice, but in a Louis Armstrong kind of Hello Dolly kind of voice. And the audience would stare slack-jawed, perplexed.
Well,
Ultimately respectful.
Well, I think reflexively, for me to go down into that low bass voice, I think reflexively I went into a Louis Armstrong, unintentionally, but, the late, great Barry White.
Do you think our love theme, what is our love? Is it our love for each other? Is it our love for our listeners? Is it our love for humanity? Where's the love theme and So There fit into love of what? I think a lot of things are going through your mind that you're not sharing.
Well, may not be pod appropriate.
Like the toilet detour was?
Like, how would you explain this episode? Where we've, it's our typical ping pong match of non sequiturs. It's unrelated gibberish, and maybe that's what we love. Maybe it's just it's the one time in our lives where we don't have to be in any way disciplined about what we're thinking about or talking about.
This is not a podcast about music, but it's interesting. We've had some amazing music on this between the Meat Boat theme and Jane's beautiful music.
Yeah, and in Jane's episode, we shared some of our own musical performances. I think on many times we've talked about mouth trumpet. We talked early on in the podcast. We used to talk about some awful lyric writing by the Steve Miller Band and some other, Music's always been a major part of the So There syllabus.
We're now so clearly out of ideas that we're now talking about what we've talked about. and talking about that. So on that note, so ends another episode of
So There.